Marc Warnke here. They call me the Goat Guy, and this is my shop on Ripple Ranch. And we like to try to be helpful kind of to the homesteading world and the lifesteading world and ranching and farming and all that fun stuff and ranchy farmy folk. And my specialty is in goats. So if you need to learn anything about goats, you can find it on PackGoats.com. Make sure you go there. We got all kinds of free downloads. Download that stuff and then we'll be in touch and help you out. So I wanted to speak today because people keep asking me about the vacuum sealer and how the Bieldefelders go. We raised a bunch of meat chickens this year, 60 in fact. And we have a lot of grasshoppers here on the ranch, and we wanted to control grasshoppers, feed chickens with grasshoppers, keep the grasshoppers from eating the goat forage, and then we have another thing called a Mormon cricket that is just a big nasty cricket that we also wanted to control with things like guinea fowl and the meat chickens. So now that the experiment's over, I want to share with you a lot of what we learned, and I think that this will help to potentially help to guide you in decisions you might make in this same arena in the future. Number one is chicken food is so expensive that if you have to feed chickens, you're not really going to save a lot of money raising meat chickens over certainly the grocery store. If you're buying crap, heavy, a whole chicken at Walmart, I don't think you can raise a chicken for as cheap as they can buy it and resell it. It's unbelievable. I still think they're getting $8 or $9 for a whole chicken right now, and there's just no way you could use the food and feed a chicken and raise it and still only have $8 or $9 in raw cost. That's not including paying yourself for time and energy. So raising chickens, in my opinion, is more about trying to find a bulk food option to mitigate that, or to find a natural food option like grasshoppers, or just the personal satisfaction that you raised your own food, that you know how it was raised. And that's the reason we primarily did it. We had lots of parts of it, and I'll do this again just because eating a chicken that we raised and that we know not only how it was raised with the intention of love and kindness and thoughtfulness, and then killed with that same thing. It was really beautiful. The people that we butchered with, we all prayed, before we killed the chickens, that we held to them in reverence and respect. And intention matters. Animals hold energy in their body, and then that energy gets transferred into us when we consume it. And, if they're never revered throughout their life or held with any type of respect, I think that energy in our body shows up. And so it's enough for me to do that. We ended up with, I think, around $12-ish raw cost to raise chickens per bird. And then that did include like butchering as well, which we are in the process of potentially trying to assemble the equipment. But things like pluckers, to do it realistically, you need the plucker, you need the big boil pot to scald them. You need those things, or you're just not going to do any kind of volume. And skinning them, in my opinion, is a huge mistake, because then you lose one of the greatest parts of raising your own chicken, which is to have the fat, which is all in the skin. The other thing is this vacuum sealer. People kept asking me about it because I posted pictures on it. It will do a whole chicken. So you can see this is a whole chicken that's frozen that we put in the vacuum sealer. And this vacuum sealer is called a Vac-Master. It's a really antiquated piece of equipment. I don't know how old this one is. I bought it used for $500. They're like $2 to $3 grand new. They're expensive, really expensive. And the big ones are like $5 grand. And this is kind of their, I don't know, maybe they're 1/3 of the way up. They make big ones that are big like cabinets and stuff. And you got to change the oil in it and stuff. I mean, it's legit. It's got a motor. It's loud. This thing right here has to weigh 225 pounds. That's why we just keep it here. We plug it in. We use it here. We'll bring us to it rather than it to us, because it's too dang heavy it takes two people to carry it, and it's really cumbersome. So, but it works awesome. On all levels, and I've had it for years now. If you can buy them used, that'd probably be the way. So the other thing I want to talk about is the difference in the breeds of the chickens. So we went with two breeds. I've raised Red Rangers before. I like them, as opposed to Cornish Cross. Now, Cornish Cross are so franken chickeny, manufactured by hybridization, so bad that they gain weight so quickly they can't walk, and they gain weight and their joints and their legs go out sideways, and you'll get half of them limping. Some of them can still walk around as they get bigger, but it's really like to me in some ways it's like and I don't say it with judgment. If you raise Cornish Cross, I'm not judging you at all, but to watch the animal try to exist in the skin we put him in, he can't, and it's disconcerting to watch that. So Cornish Cross, if you're sensitive to having a more natural bird that has a better quality of life until it dies, Cornish Cross are pretty hard to do because they literally can't walk, and if they'll overeat so much when they're babies they give themselves heart attacks, and we literally, they're bred to try to butcher in about 8 weeks and 8 to 9 weeks, and that's just not natural. So the closest hybrid to that still is a functioning chicken, but we had a couple of limpers, not bad, but we had a couple of limpers, is Red Rangers. And Red Rangers we hoped would be more like their name, ranging, and eat our grasshoppers. But they just never figured it out. They were like too dumb. We would let them out into the pasture that was full of grasshoppers, and they'd just go and hang on the edges and wait to get fed again. We actually spent some time trying to teach them to walk out into the field, and I'm still wondering if there's more we could do when they're younger to teach them how to be a chicken and to go out and start foraging for grasshoppers and doing that. And I think we could if we really worked on it. So I still feel like that experiment isn't done. But the Red Rangers, in terms of a body mass, are more what we're used to of buying a chicken in a grocery store compared to the Bieldefelders. I was disappointed. Now, so we're going to talk temperament first, and then we're going to talk meat. So temperament of the Bieldefelders, they are a legit chicken. They're long-legged, they grow fast, they're super voracious. A grasshopper does not have a chance within 100 yards. They cleaned our entire lower 7 acres of every Mormon cricket, and we don't have grasshoppers. You normally walk this time of year and you have a raft of grasshoppers flying anywhere. Between them and the guineas, we have none. So they did an amazing job cleaning out the grasshoppers and the Mormon crickets. But what they didn't do was grow a really nice chicken breast. So by comparison, that's the comparison. So they had a really narrow breast, and their fat was super yellow, like almost kind of gross to the look yellow. Good tasting, but the difference of a Bieldefelder is exactly the difference in temperament. Bieldefelders are much closer to a wild bird. They really are. The reason people like them, and the reason I was attracted to them, is they're a bird that will do it all. They'll lay eggs, they'll become a meat bird, and they'll raise chicks for you. So I liked the fact that we would have some Bieldefelders around raising broods, because then it would let me butcher 10 at a time rather than 60 and have this ongoing chore. And we still may decide that Bieldefelders, because of that component, the fact that they eat grasshoppers, the fact that they'll serve multiple purposes, and the fact that they'll brood and raise chicks for us that we can then butcher, that may make the decision for us that we go with them. But in terms of an eating bird, the Red Rangers have it, no questions asked. They have big meaty legs. They have the legs on the Bieldefelders were very much like a pheasant, or not like a chucker, because they weren't like that, but they're like a pheasant, more sinewy. The difference between a wild turkey and a domestic turkey, more sinewy, darker meat, chewier. Not, again, we've trained ourselves as humans to eat infants and to eat hybridized animals that are engineered for flavor and to please the human palate. So we've gotten kind of soft in what we like, but I have to say I like the Red Rangers better. If I could teach the Red Rangers how to eat grasshoppers, there's no question I would go with those. There's benefits to both, and I wanted you to kind of see the results of our experiment and what we did. And also, if you're going to try to raise anything over about 20 chickens and not have access to a plucker, an automatic plucker, and a scalding pot, I highly recommend that you do whatever it takes to either rent one, borrow one, or pay somebody to let you use theirs or work with them like we did. We actually hired a couple to teach us how to do the whole process. I mean, I've already done it before and I know what I'm doing, but I really wanted to see how an expert did it. And it was really valuable to watch the little nuances of speed. They were fast and they were efficient. And then we came home and packaged them and did all this. And this is another part of keeping chickens really good. Now remember, a lot of people misunderstand what keeping meat in the freezer is all about. Keeping meat in the freezer is not about creating thickness around the thing that's in the freezer. It's about creating a lack of oxygen, because it's oxygen that creates freezer burn. So when you suck all the oxygen out of the bag, then there's no place for freezer burn to happen on the chicken. So you take a chicken that would normally last in the freezer 6 months to a year to make it 3 to 5 years. Now, I would never keep this in there for 3 to 5 years, and I would contest that that might be a little long. I would say more, in my experience, is 1 to 3 years. But it's still 2 or 3 times as long, and you'll get no freezer burn. So vacuum sealers are critical. I just got tired of the crappy ones that, you know, are the little countertop models, but I get that we can only afford what we can afford, and if not that they work decent, but these definitely work better. So I hope you find that helpful. Don't forget, we're launching the life steading movement, where we're going to begin putting on seminars here at the ranch. We're bringing in experts on things like chickens and all that stuff. And if you like these type of videos, please click to subscribe, leave us a comment, and let us know if you want to see more stuff like this. So hope you find that helpful. Marc Warnke signing out.